it going? My name is Faru, and today I'm joined here with Michael Rathman. Michael, welcome.
How you doing, man?
All good, brother. Michael, just some quick questions right away, just so the audience can get to know you a bit more. First of all, where are you based?
Yeah, I'm based in Pensacola, Florida, so it's like far west in Florida as you can get.
Right, and what type of agency do you run?
Ecom email marketing.
Right, and when did you start that?
I started learning email copywriting in like October of 2022, and then I really started the agency back in March of 2023.
Perfect. And how much an MRR are you currently generating?
10K, right on the dot.
Awesome. Perfect. All right, brother. So let's get started then from the very beginning. Sort of what motivated you to start your agency? What are the steps that took you to actually getting started with that?
Yeah, so I guess it kind of goes, and everybody's has like a really similar story. I feel like in the agency space, where it's like everybody when I was 16, I like tried to do drop shipping. Um, just didn't try very hard. I spun up a pet product store, made like two sales. One was some random lady in Ohio, and one was my mom. And shout out mom for buying a product, right? But I got a lot of experience just like running Facebook ads through that and just setting up Shopify stores and but I just didn't try very hard. And then kind of the next thing came about. I was trading some stocks, doing stock options, got into crypto, and did all that for a little bit. But um, around like July of 2022, I quit my job at a chimney company and just kind of decided to go all in on the agency. Well, thinking about what that next move was, and it ended up being the agency. Just from the standpoint of I didn't want to start another dropshipping brand because I didn't want it to be a dropshipping brand. I was like, if I was going to do that, I wanted it to be a real brand, and it's kind of hard to do that without some cash flow. So agency, so easy to start up. All it takes is time, and I started learning email copywriting, and quickly realized that it was going to be a lot harder to sell e-commerce brands on just copy in a Google Doc. And so I kind of switched to like full service. Started working with a designer. Shout out John and just started selling like full service email marketing. And from March, I really started picking up on like actual outreach, some cold emails, and then I signed my first client in June.
Fantastic, bro. So maybe you could tell us a bit more about sort of that journey from like starting from scratch to scaling all the way up to like 10K and sort of like beyond that.
Yeah, yeah. In the beginning, it's so interesting because you want to do all these things that don't actually equate to like you signing clients. It's like that 80/20 principle. It's like all of your results are going to come from like outreach and offers and making offers. And so like it's easy early on to kind of get caught up in like learning more about email design or email copywriting or like Klaviyo like tips and tricks and stuff, but like none of that matters if I don't ever have a client. And so there was a short amount of time where it just my focus was not on the right things. And then like I said, around March, I started like getting some cold emails set up and just through all the guys in CA, all their free content, set up my domains, set up some cold email scripts and just launched those. But that was like the first real steps towards actual outreach. For a while, I was just doing like Instagram DM outreach, just kind of like doing low numbers, man, like 25 DMs a day, and it just I don't know, it just wasn't there. And so like when I switched to cold email and really pushed hard on that front, that's when I saw like the difference. And to credit like everything happens all at once and like nothing happens for so long. That's kind of how it was. Like I started those campaigns in March, so like all of March and all of April, like nothing happened, and then like the last week of April, I booked like 8 calls. But it was because I like sat there every day and like looked at the responses I was getting, or most of the time I was just getting no's. But I was just hunting those no's because I knew like I was X amount of no's away. And so I was like really, really trying to get as many no's as possible because for a while I didn't get any no's. It was just like nothing. And so really hunting those down and just like looking at my campaigns every week and like just iterations of everything. Just like a quick landing page on card and all those things that you like think about doing, but like some people put them off, and I put them off for a long time too. But there's just those quick iterations of like every week adapting on what last week was is really what kind of brought those results, I think. And
Love
then
it. So, yeah, you were saying like with the card, so you built a website. Did you add a VSL to that as well afterwards, or no?
no, I put that off for so long until I joined CA actually.
Yeah. Right, yeah. So it's like these. So from what I'm getting, the idea is just like at the very beginning, and this is a mistake a lot of people make. It's like they think that they're ramming volume, but in fact they're not. And it's not until you like start comparing your numbers to other people, and you're like, maybe I should start sending out more emails or just more DMs or whatnot.
Yeah, yeah. I think I actually posted a video about that. It's like comparing yourself to others is like one of the only ways to like actually like become successful because in March I was sending like 50 cold emails a day. And like we're doing 1,000 cold emails a day right now with some accounts like still getting set up and whatnot. But yeah, those numbers just, it would have taken me years to get, the amount of booked calls that I'm getting now. And so that was a big mistake for sure, thinking those were real numbers. But like comparatively, they were not.
Yeah. And you mentioned CA before. For anybody that's watching this, we're referring to client ascension here. Could you maybe tell us a bit about like maybe not the community itself, but sort of how it's benefited you exactly in sort of getting to where you are today?
Yeah, so I've always been big on buying courses. I think I've probably spent over 25 grand on courses since like I was 16. And a lot of those, just what makes a good course is like the amount of action you take on it, of course. But with Client Ascension, in 2023, I had the goal of joining by end of year. And I ended up joining in June or July. July 19th, I think, is the date. And what that really helped was I think I got all the things I could have from the free content the guys posted on Twitter and all the DM giveaways and all those docs that they put out there. That's just like all the YouTube content. It's so valuable. And that's what got me to sign my first client. And so I was just thinking like, man, if I can sign a client off their free content, I can't imagine what their paid program's like. And when I joined, what that helped was it gave me like the roadmap, and that's kind of like cliche to say, but it was either like I walk this path and like get the results, or like I just don't do it. And so joining CA, it's like that straight line program of like do this, do that, do this, do that, and then it just kind of sets you up for exactly where you want to go with your agency. And so it's just like an immense amount of clarity, and I almost think not a lot of people talk about like how important clarity is, because if you like aren't super clear on like how you're going to get to where you want to go, you just spend a lot of time treading water, testing things, where you could just pay to join a program where these guys have tested everything under the sun, and you just kind of take what they know is best practices and like implement that, and then basically just do iterations based on your own feedback now that you've put something in place. And so that was huge for me.
Exactly. It's just like it's a legitimate shortcut. Like anytime you can spend money to actually pay an expert or a group of experts to actually sort of help you walk the path that they already walked, it's just going to help immensely in sort of saving you a lot of time and money as well if you think about it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So you talked earlier about like some of the challenges, like, where the focus wasn't maybe at the right place sometimes, the clarity, like the volume. Any other challenges as like a first time agency owner, especially you coming from like a drop shipping background? Like what were some of these things that kind of threw you off when you first got started?
I think a lot of it was just consuming more information than actions taken. And so, it's super easy to get caught in the loop of watching YouTube videos and thinking you're like making progress, and it all stems from like that feeling of not feeling ready, but you never feel ready. And like I sold my first client on email marketing having never sent an email before, like for an ecom brand, or like I never even designed an email before. But I knew like that doesn't happen. Like you don't feel ready unless you get in there and you just throw yourself out there and just make those offers and get into the game. And I think for a long time, especially me, for a long time, I just sat on the sidelines and just like, analysis paralysis, just thinking I was gaining information and building a base of things. And yeah, all those things, like all those Sam Ovens videos, they don't really even make sense when you don't have an agency, you don't have a team, and you don't work with clients. And like now I see a lot of the connections and stuff, but for a while it's just meaningless until you get in the game. And so I think that was a big thing. And then I think the second biggest thing was just not putting like 95% of my time into outreach. Like one day I sat down, I just wrote on a piece of paper, and it was just like outreach pays me, and like that's the only thing I did for a long time. And so that was big. Like stop worrying about systems and all these things. Like you don't have anything. Like just get a client first, and that was huge.
I love that. Outreach pays me. That's a tweet on its own. By the
Yeah,
way,
right.
regarding the offer, since I know a lot of people watching this would probably be curious. So you said you were ramming, you were doing outreach basically. You signed your first client without even ever having sent a email or designed one before. Maybe you could walk us through sort of what the offer looked like.
Yeah. The offer was just like 100% performance based. Like I just let them know that, and you know what's funny is I pitched 100% performance, and that got them on the call. And they kind of just like asked a little bit about my backstory, and what got me into the space, yada yada yada. And they ended up not wanting to do performance only, and they ended up paying me a flat retainer, and which was awesome. Like I don't know why they did that, but I think I just sold myself enough to where they were like willing to pay me on a flat retainer, and I still work with that client today.
I was about to ask actually, so I'm glad you brought that up. I was like, how did you perform with that client? So I was assuming they're still working with you to this day. I mean, they must be happy with the results you're bringing in.
Yeah, I think they are. I think they are. We're doing good for them, and it's an awesome brand. They're like completely disrupting like the candle industry and kind of just setting themselves up for like that next wave of eco-friendly type people, like that push through like the skincare, hair care. Everything's going eco-friendly. A lot of people in stores scanning QR codes to see what's in their products, and when that overlaps into some other industries, they've kind of like positioned themselves really well for that. And we've been working since like June or July, June. Yeah.
Congratulations, brother. And
Thank you.
question then, so how do you then take advantage? So early on in the days, you were getting a couple of these clients, you sign them, you get them now as you sign them and you get them the results. So now you have like these case studies. How do you leverage these case studies then to kind of sign more clients?
Yeah, and I think to kind of backtrack real quick on that, for a while, like they were my first client, and it took, and like the second and third client kind of came around, but it took a lot to. The big part of case studies is working with the right clients. For a while, I thought my service delivery just wasn't that good, and like my first real official client was a CBD brand that made less money than I did, and I only had one client, or like not one client, but I was doing some other thing, and they just they made no money, man. And I actually sold them on a 30% rev share deal, and it was like 30% of zeros, not a lot of money, man. And so that that was a client that could have never turned into a case study. I couldn't have even got them a sale, maybe one sale, but it was just that was a bad client to work with. So picking the right clients and knowing who to work with was big to like get the actual case studies, and then leveraging those. Obviously, like the things like putting them on the site and creating content around it was huge. Basically, just breaking down exactly what I did to get them that result, showing that result that I did get them with screenshots and proof, but really just giving everything I did to get that result. And a lot of people I think have that fear of well, what if they just other prospects take what I did and just run with it? It's like no one wants to do their own emails, and like that's just a low leverage task for an ecom founder to. They shouldn't be doing that. And I think a lot of people will get stuck in that of they don't give enough free value out there because they're scared to like get it taken or their prospects are going to use it. But I can almost guarantee you, and everyone's told me this, no one's going to do that. Like no one's going to actually get in there and fix all their Klaviyo mistakes. There's just too many little nuances. And then of course there's some like small tips and tricks that you always gatekeep, just to keep that intrigue building and not give away like all the sauce and your sales assets and stuff. But yeah, posting that on the landing page, using that in like Twitter content, but also like funneling that into your cold email scripts was big. That like really increased my metrics there on the cold email side of things. Having a case study that I could actually use in outreach was really big.
Right. So like signing that first client definitely hard. But once you kind of get that, and it's like a snowball effect, right? It's just like it starts rolling afterwards. So, which
Yeah.
is great. I mean, you mentioned some of these points, especially like I love the one about the content. Like I think Alex Hermosi was the one who said it. It's like uh, post so much free value to the point that it starts hurting, basically.
Yeah.
That's
If you
when you
don't
know
feel a
you're
little
actually
iffy about
posting.
it, yeah.
Yeah,
If you don't feel a little iffy about the content you're posting out, like you're just not giving enough free value there.
exactly. And so maybe so to kind of like add on that, then this is one of like the last questions that I have actually. It's like so you mentioned like picking the right clients. You mentioned also like putting out a lot of valuable content. What are some other advice that you may have for like first time agency owners that are getting started that want to just that want to scale from like 0 to 10K? Like, what would you say either to your old self or to somebody that's just getting started?
Definitely expect like nothing to happen for so long and only worry about those daily inputs, and those daily inputs should be made up of like I income producing activities, so IPAs, yeah, IPAs, and mainly like that's really just outreach. If you're not making offers, there's just no chance that you're making money. And then the added part of that is like also existing on the internet, since everything's so online with what we do. If you just don't exist and someone searches your agency or your name, they don't see a LinkedIn, they see a Twitter account with like a mirror selfie and no content and like 12 followers, and your bio is like I love penguins or something. Like you're just not getting clients that way. Like, you have to exist on the internet a bit, and that was major. So existing on the internet was big, and then just focusing on actual outreach. That none of that, no clients come without outreach, and so for a long time I didn't focus solely on that, which was not cool. It was not good, not a good idea.
Yeah, it's so easy to get caught up. And as you mentioned earlier, like people like to watch all these videos and consume so much content, and they see where these people like have these agencies at like 100K, 200, 500K, and they're like, oh, these guys have all these intricate systems. I need to like replicate all that. I'm like, well, slow down, Buckaroo. Like, there's a time for that. It's just like right now, as you mentioned, it's just all about ramming outreach and just kind of getting those first clients through the door and then start worrying about the systems once it becomes a bit hard to manage.
Yeah, and two things on that. It's like one, for me personally, I liked like I come from like a management background, so like the team building and the management side of things and like the ops. That's what I like. So I always found myself like wasting time in like a project management system or something when I had like one client and I could do everything on a piece of notebook paper. And then also like before signing that first client, I think a lot of that stems from people being scared to not fulfill that service, like not be able to fulfill that service. But I mean, I would have like that first client I did sign before the candle company. That was it was a CBD brand, and like I had no onboarding process. I didn't know what questions to ask. I didn't even do a real discovery, which is why I didn't know how much money that they didn't make. And like why a 30% rev share? Like why would they go with the 30% rev share? Oh, because they make no money. And so like I would have never worked, or like it would have eventually happened, but without a bad discovery process, you don't get a good discovery process. And without no onboarding process and like not knowing, like seeing, oh, I should have asked this or I should have asked that, you don't see what it should be. So you don't have anything to build off of. So probably like I think if I could go back, I'd just tell myself not to be scared to like get in the game and just like fail first client. And what's gonna happen? I don't have a reputation yet. There's nothing to like lose. Just like get out there, work for the client. If you can't get them a result, work for free until you do. And if they're not a client where you can get them results, kind of just like break away from that partnership and move on to the next one.
Love this, man. Super, super valuable stuff. And just finally, could you maybe share me your website or your socials, anything that where can people find more about you and sort of like your agency?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Twitter is where I'm most active at Michael Rathman 7, and then the agency adsumodigital.com.
Lovely. Michael, it's been a pleasure having you, brother. And, have a great day, brother.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Alrighty, man.